Here we are again.
Yes, we are.
And I love it. I love us getting together like this and talking.
Well, because it always provides lunch before we come.
And
we eat, and then we complain about how
much weight we're gaining.
Yeah, and what we should stop, yeah.
Or the studio is up the stairs, and as we're huffing and puffing, coming up the stairs. But we love it. We love getting together.
It's a good little ritual.
Well, not only do we feel like we have great information to always share with people and friends. I'm going to say you're our friends out there watching, and we like to entertain each other. So here we are, huh?
Exactly.
But I know you've got some important stuff to be sharing with our viewers today.
Yeah, I've actually ran across, and actually was one of a dear friend of yours that had introduced me to this.
It's a mantra. It's like a mantra.
It's a mantra. And that's not really a good way to say it. It's like a cleaning or a clearing.
Oh, okay.
And, we've all heard of The Secret, and we've all heard of positive thinking. And intentions and that sort of thing. And there's always been just a piece of the puzzle that's never quite meshed or fit in well with the whole concept of it.
I agree.
And I believe people feel like, well, that's all good and dandy. It's good that you think good, you have the positive thinking, but there's something missing because there's not that connection still that not everybody's getting. Mm-hmm. And what your friend had told me was there is a Hawaiian method, theory of some sort.
Saying like a mantra, but you're right. It's not really a mantra, but something like that.
And before I get into it, I want to tell you the story about how it came about. And it's called Ho'oponopono.
Not porno, but Ho'oponopono.
But that's a good way to remember it.
Porno?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Ho'oponopono.
Okay.
And I could be messing that up too, but I think I've been told that's how it's been said.
Okay, Ho'oponopono.
Yeah, good.
Oh,
fast learner.
Fast learner.
Anyways, it is a Hawaiian belief that we are all connected. Mm-hmm. And this Dr. Hugh Lin, which he has another long Hawaiian name in front of that or behind that, was asked to work for this psychiatric ward in Hawaii. And it was a very dangerous ward. They had mentally serial ill repeat offenders of some sort. And the staff would not show up. The therapist started quitting. And they were desperate to have people work for this ward. Well, this doctor comes in and he says, I will work for you under one condition. If I never see the patients. I never want to see the patients, and I never want to see the staff. And they said, well, we're desperate.
Must have been.
But he said, if my theory doesn't work, I will give you every penny back. So every day he would open up the file, he'd look at the patient's file, and he'd read their file and he'd find what was it that upset him so deeply about their case. Because his belief is we are all responsible for each other. Our reality, when reality is presented in front of us, we have created it in some sort, one form or another. Which changed my idea, my thinking of, wow, that's a different concept to than just thinking about positive thinking or intentions or, that what the case may be. So every day he'd open up the file and he would say to the universe, to God, to whoever you call your higher power, I love you. Thank you. Please forgive me, and I'm sorry. And he calls this a clearing, which clear yourself of any blockage, which allows other people around you to prosper, which I thought was pretty amazing. Because now there's another way, because we've talked about how positive thinking can be measured or thoughts can be measured. And this was measured because within 2 months, all the patients' meds were cut in half. And every staff member started showing up to work.
And at the end of 5 years, tell us what happened.
Within 5 years, they actually shut down the facility. They had no more patients.
No more patients. And the friend who first told me about that turned you on to this as well. And there's a book out about this. Do you know the name of the book?
It's called Zero Limits by Joe Vitale and Dr. Hugh Lin.
Right, for anybody that would like to read it in further detail than what we're discussing here today. But my friend's name is George, and your
Hi,
friend,
George.
Hi, George. And he actually was very ill, severely ill. He'd contacted an infection while he was having surgery in the hospital, which, as we know, happens quite often, more often than we like to believe.
Right.
But he ended up having, it was months worth of IV treatments and in the rehab facilities, and was in really bad shape. So he had the entire staff where he was at saying that, and he would test them to see if they remembered.
Well, and didn't he lose like a massive amount of weight, and they were...
He was totally wasting away.
Yeah.
And by just saying what you said. Now, I love the way you said it was a clearing.
It's
a cleansing, a clearing, because I hadn't heard that. I thought of it more like a little mantra, but you're right, it doesn't quite fit. But he would say that. He had the staff saying it, and this was really a year ago. And to see him today, he's as fit and strong. And
I see him every day.
You see him every day.
Out in the courtyard.
So that was a real blessing. And to tell you the truth, I did it for a while, and then I had kind of forgotten about it, like I do everything, get lazy, and you get busy. I don't think lazy is the right word, but you just get busy, and you fall out of those good habits.
Right.
So you bringing it up again, Onea, reminded me, and I've started doing it again.
Awesome.
So
I had read a little bit of the book, and I've actually turned everybody on to reading it, and my book hasn't come in yet, but the little bit that I have read, which really caught my attention, and which was a different thinking on the whole law of attraction, was when you do this clearing, you actually wipe the slate clean within yourself. Like the beginning of the universe, it was a clean slate. So every time you clear yourself, you start from a clear slate, so you're not working off bad behaviors.
So what you're saying is like cleansing the soul.
Exactly.
Because the soul carries memory. So it's like an imprinting of anything you've ever experienced or thought, or past lives, if people believe in it or not. But it continues. It's like an imprint.
Yes.
And you're saying this clearing takes care of things that have been imprinted up on the soul. That's very interesting. That's powerful.
It is powerful, and not only is it clearing the imprint on your soul, you are actually going back and clearing past generations.
I believe it.
I don't know what you would call it.
In your lineage?
Your lineage,
Just in your lineage?
your history
Okay.
of wrongdoings or forgiveness. And the thing that I would get hung up on with the law of attraction is you would have these good intentions, but then as human beings, we get blocked on, well, then am I worthy of it? Have I been a good enough person to receive these blessings? Am I worthy of receiving this abundance? And then we ourselves block ourselves.
We limit ourselves.
We limit ourselves. And so when you say, please forgive me, you actually release that blockage to now receive the abundance.
So it removes the limitation one sets up on themselves. I see what you're saying, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
Just wonderful.
Because I know so many of us, we would love this prosperous life. We'd love this life of abundance. But we start overthinking things, and we start saying, well, I've done this, I've done that. I'm not worthy of it. Why am I deserving of this abundance?
I've never thought that. I have never once in my life felt like I was not worthy of receiving good in my life.
Right.
It's just the opposite. I think, well, God,
But the majority of people
How
that
come Onea can have hair like that and I can't? What did I do? But no, you're right. We limit ourselves.
we as human beings, we do limit ourselves.
We
Society,
think we're not capable,
right?
whatever. Now, I've always known that what one person thinks or does affect everyone. Because I've even said if one person uplifts their own consciousness, it uplifts all of mankind.
Yes.
And that's because of energy. We're all connected.
Yes.
Native Americans have a great saying also, and I can't even think what the word is right now, but it means all my relations. It's a greeting, all my relations. Another way of saying we're all one, we're all connected. But if you uplift yourself, you uplift all of mankind.
Right.
Okay? And that's how important we all are as individuals that we've talked about this too. The change has to start with oneself.
Yes.
But that's how important we are.
Yeah.
You know, we're
That's how
significant.
powerful we are.
Yeah, I like that too.
When George had mentioned this story to me, and I had started doing the research online about it and turning everybody on this book, the concept of forgiving yourself and clearing yourself was so profound to me, because I thought, wow, even though I thought I've done all this work in myself to be a better person, to do this, there's still places in my life that I have to be that I have to be forgiven for. And it just, even just saying I love you, thank you, please forgive me, I'm sorry, changes your energy level instantly.
But I'm going to add to that, well, two things. We know it's easier to forgive someone else than it is ourselves. That's very hard. But I also know, like, it has to be more than a belief system. It cannot be just a belief system or the intention. You have to own it.
Yes.
You have to know it's going to work. And then it's really the emotion behind something. You have to put that emotion, that feeling into it. And that's when it starts creating whatever it is you're wanting to create.
Well, and I don't want people to get hung up on, well, I'm not feeling it. Just say it, because there is a point where you start believing what you tell yourself.
Oh, I like that, yeah.
And
fake it till you make it.
Fake it till you make it, because words are so powerful. And we've talked about how there's another story where a man's DNA was swabbed out of his mouth and put into a petri dish in California. They took him to Arizona and put the man in a negative state of negative talking, a negative state, music, this sort of thing, and
around him, his environment.
In his environment, and his DNA in California started instantly responding.
Reacting. Yeah.
His immune system started going down. His DNA was being altered, and then they would put him in a positive state of positive talk, positive reinforcement,
nice music,
and his DNA started going up, and his immune system started improving.
It's that powerful. You're right. The words are, and again, the intention. And I know sometimes people feel badly about the outcome of a certain situation when their intention was actually for something good to happen, but it went sideways, as we say.
Right.
And I always tell my clients, hey, it's the intention behind it that makes the difference. If your intention was not to harm, but to do good, and it just kind of, like I said, went sideways, it's not the same thing as when your intent is to harm someone.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So that feeling, that intention. But do you remember when you were talking about the DNA in the petri dish? Excuse me. Wow, I tell you, when I get into this studio, there is something that always affects me. I must be allergic to something in here. And I know it's not you. I know I can say that. But do you remember we talked about the story about the plant that reacted after being hooked up
to the polygraph machine?
We should probably tell that story again.
Do you want me to?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, there was a polygrapher who was in his office, bored. He says, wow, I wonder if I put the polygraph machine on this plant. When I water it, when the water reaches the machine part of it, if it would respond on the scale.
No, I was thinking of when they brought in the killer into the room.
Oh, well, let me finish my story
Okay.
and you can tell yours.
Well, a different version of the same story. Okay.
Really?
Yeah. Excuse me. Golly.
Well, anyway, so nothing happened, and he said, I wonder if I lit this plant on fire. Just a thought. And the machine went off the chart.
The plant reacted.
The plant reacted to the
Right.
thought of being lit on
Thought.
fire.
And I had read something, and I love that story, but also where there was the same situation, experimental kind of a thing, and there had been like a lineup, okay, and they were actually, the police was looking for a particular, or to solve a murder, I should say. And when the person who had committed the murder was brought into the room, them not knowing, he was just one of many in a lineup, same thing, the plant started reacting that had been in the room where the murder had taken place. And polygraphed him.
Fascinating. I have never heard that story,
And
but that makes complete sense to me.
again, that energy, and it's a life form. Every living thing has, energy to it, and some even innate objects like, rocks, the energy is there. And
Right.
energy, of course, cannot be destroyed.
Sure.
It just changes.
Yeah.
But to a point where the plant had feelings. So when you're talking to your plant or animals, and you're pretty and you're growing nice and this and that, see how much healthier those plants are. And I've tested that because I don't have a green thumb,
Yeah.
and so I would quite often do that, and would be amazed at the difference of talking nicely to my plants and meaning it.
Right.
Because they can tell if you're fibbing, okay? And how
That's
they
probably
would
why I
grow.
don't keep plants in my house.
Well, I don't have a lot of them, but I do have one or two, and I don't because, I'm not good at growing them. But
Yeah.
I have physically seen with my own two eyes the difference, okay, on that particular situation. But tell us the Hawaiian saying again.
It's called, and I hope I'm not butchering it, but it's ho, oh no, pono, pono.
That's not that hard.
No, but it's a very long word. I think it's H-O-O-P-O-N-O, P-O-N-O.
Probably pretty
P-O-N-O,
much what
yeah.
it sounds like, yeah. Ho'oponopono. Oh, no, that wasn't it.
Ho'oponopono.
Ho'oponopono.
Yeah.
Well, if we can get everybody to say that, okay. Or the easier American version is where you say, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and I love you,
I love you.
to yourself.
And even if that's hard, just say I'm sorry and I love you.
Yeah, there you go. We
But I
simplified.
think the forgiveness part, and it's not I forgive you, please forgive me.
Oh, yeah. Please
That-
forgive me. Yeah.
That was a concept that really, I even stuttered over it when I would try to go, which goes to show still the ego.
Well, no, it's how you feel like you can't forgive yourself.
Yeah.
Like it goes back to
Yeah.
that self-worth.
I kept asking George, okay, I'll forgive you, and he said, no, it's please forgive me.
And I've been, when you reminded me of it, I've been practicing that again, and I'm actually like visualizing my lungs. I go within my body into my lungs, or if there's another part of your body, any organs or any part that you're having issues with, that I think would help, because that visualization
Yes.
is a big important part too. But I love that, Onea.
Well, we hold on to so much, and I love the fact that you brought that up, to visualize a place in your body that you're having issues with. And creating love around that. We have a girlfriend, she just told me an amazing story about how this has worked for her.
Tell me the story and I'll see which one it is. I can't think of who it is.
She started saying her clearing. She started doing her clearing.
Okay.
And she's had some issues in her marriage, and her husband announced that he wants to ask her to remarry him
After saying this?
after practicing this. And
she said no.
He hasn't.
No, I didn't.
But they've been together for 32 years.
Hey, if I had do-overs,
if you had to re-sign the contract.
I'm not married, but if I've been, and if I'd had a do-over, I'm not sure, but I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
What you're trying to say is their relationship
is healing.
from whatever was troubling them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
but I think it would be hilarious if she said, "No, I don't think so."
Nah, I'm done.
Well, it's been there 32 years. I mean, how much
I'm
more
trading you in for a new model.
New model, huh? But that's how my sense of humor is. Not everybody sees it that way. No, I think it's a nice story, and it does show how healing that
Yeah,
would be.
she said they had a great night, and they've just been getting along so well, and we could really project a lot by just our own feelings and harboring stuff, how we project to other people too.
But if I'd been married 32 years and it was a bad situation and just that beautiful saying made a difference, I think I'd have it tattooed somewhere, just get that imprint on me somewhere there,
Yeah, it's just a good practice, and it's, I think people get hung up on praying for other people or saying it for other people to change, and that's not the point at all. The point is, if you are in a negative situation with somebody else, you start asking for the forgiveness, and you start sending out the love, and just see how that changes your reality around you.
Well, God, I feel like we should have a basket to pass around for the
kidding.
collection
Hallelujah.
basket. I feel the spirit. Oh, good Lord, no, I do. I love it. There's another great little book that actually you turned me on to, and I've started reading it. We should do like an Oprah book club thing.
No
like
kidding.
Once a month, talk about a book that's worthy of our great show here to talk about. But the one you mentioned to me and what it was about, and I've started reading it, I bought it, was Heaven is for Real.
Oh, that was a cute book.
Did you read it all?
I sure did.
You should tell a little bit about that, because it's a wonderful story, which is what made me go buy the book, even though I haven't gotten past the first chapter yet, but I will.
Well, it's about I'm telling you, this memory's not as good as it used to be, but a young boy, I think he was 3 to 6.
Somewhere in there.
And he had a appendicitis burst, or had appendicitis, and his appendix bursted, and they went into surgery, and he claims that he went to heaven and actually sat on Jesus's lap, and he described how beautiful it is, and colors, and there was another little girl who was a prophetic artist, and she drew pictures, and she drew a picture of Jesus because she had the same experience.
A near-death experience.
And they would ask the little boy, his parents would say, "Is this a picture of Jesus?" And he'd say, "No, something's not right." Well, then they had ran across the picture of this other little girl who drew him, and he said, "That's it."
That's it.
And they both
there.
claimed to have the same experience.
And when you told me about this, I actually got chills. I had a physical reaction to it. And when I have a physical reaction to something like that, I know it's powerful.
Yeah.
And it's also my barometer for truth. It's like my truth barometer.
Right.
Okay, at least for me, not for anyone else, but
too.
for me. So I went and got the book out at our bookstore. Who is closing?
Oh, I'm so sad about that.
I am too.
I know a lot of people are moving to the Nook, or that electronic book thing. I think it's called the Nook, or the Kindle. Is what it's called.
I can barely email, so I'm not.
And I'm still kind of that old-fashioned person. I like to feel it. I like to smell it. I like to hold it. I like to look at it. And I'm not a big person to sit in front of computers anyways. It kind of messes with my eyes.
Me too.
So I think I'm resisting with the Kindle.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I'm knocking it, because I probably will jump on the bandwagon at some point.
It's technology, but it still doesn't mean we have to really like it. But it's really sad. I mean, we know that newspapers are moving away from print. You know, it's becoming a dying.
And I understand the purpose.
But books is a different story, and we've already had so many across the country, so many great bookstores close, and now ours is closing. We won't mention the name, but it's sad. Yeah, it's really
I'm sad because I like to just go in and browse. And I think that's the thing you won't be able to get with looking at
kind of a hands-on, how it feels, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
You know,
and that's what I'm gonna miss. So.
It is. It's sad, but you know, honey, it's a changing world.
We're change of the times.
Changing times, and as the song says, the times are changing.
Yeah.
And we're certainly experiencing that.
Yeah, we are, and everybody's noticing it.
Yeah, faster than ever. And we've talked about how time is sped up, and I don't even know what we're going to talk about next time we get together for our show, but I'm sure it'll be riveting.
It'll be great, and also we'll probably talk about it over lunch.
Yeah, well,
30 minutes before we get here.
But you know, what I like though is that if it interests us, then hopefully it's going to interest at least one other person out there.
I got a lot of responses on the Dream.
Our show on our Dreams last show.
People were like, "Oh yeah," and it was so interesting. Because I was telling my husband about what we did on the show, and we turned on the TV, and they did this whole show on dreams.
And it just goes to show you that
we're on the right track.
We're on the right track, and what we're talking about is hopefully what everybody's talking about.